Hello, Internet. This is the White Dwarf. I'm a friend of what's bothering me today. The guy on the other end of the camera. I know him as Felix. Uh, but I wanted to respond to his video on teachers. Um, Felix made some points about education in a nutshell, specifically focusing on issues of the pandemic. And so I wanted to respond to some of that from an American point of view. Now, Felix is in Canada and the Ontario province. I'm in the United States, specifically in Washington, Eastern Washington. Um, and so I guess I'll start with the pandemic issue. Um, so in the district that I'm teaching in right now, I'm a substitute teacher for now, until that changes. In the district that I've been teaching in, they had a very solid response for this school year, for the 2021 school year. Um, so in the school district I'm in, they have kids, at least in the high schools, they have them separated into two groups. You got your A group and your B group. That's roughly cut down the middle for the entire student body. Um, and so the A group will come in Monday, Wednesday, every other Friday. The B group will come in Tuesday, Thursday, and every other Friday. So we're only getting half the kids every day. On top of that, in each group, you may have roughly 30-40% of the student body is also remotely joining the classroom via Zoom. At least that's what this district uses. So in most cases, I have classes of anywhere between 3 students up through, I think my biggest is 10. Now the benefits are that yes, a smaller class size. No, you wait. A smaller class size is easier for management. Absolutely, that makes things nice and tidy, and the kids get things done quickly with less distraction that you would see, pre-pandemic. On the downside, we are now moving at half pace. It takes us 2 days to get through what should take a single day in a classroom. So I'm doing English right now. My endorsements are English and history. And by the time the end of September rolled around, normally school around here starts the first week of September or so, late August, early September. By the end of September, we were just finishing up the basic welcome to school kind of stuff, syllabus, and here's your textbooks, and here's the kinds of things we're going to be talking about. Those things were being finished at the end of the month. Granted, we did have 1 week where all the schools were closed thanks to wildfires and the smoke creeping up here. It was they closed all the schools just to keep the students safe, which is a good thing, but now we're behind the next week. So bringing things back to before the pandemic, Felix made some very good points about class sizes, about all the things that teachers have to get done as part of their job, and budgeting and things like that. And Felix, you're absolutely right. Teachers have been kind of the workhorse of society. I guess that's the only way I can think to put it, because teachers are heavily underpaid, specifically considering how important the job is. Without proper education, people can't do any of the things that they want to do, right? I mean, even to get most like construction jobs or anything that's a trade. Normally, you need a GED to get to those in the first place. So, teachers giving that base level of education, it is incredibly important, and a lot of governments undersell that point. And that's been true in the U.S. for decades. Sounds like that's the same in Ontario. Governments like to defund education in lieu of corporate subsidies, in lieu of military contracting, things like that. And ultimately, it reduces the IQ of the country by a few points as a whole. I'm oversimplifying a little bit because it's a very complex kind of chain reaction that takes place over a couple of generations. But there are definite ways that the job that teachers have to do can be improved. When I was doing my student teaching, 2017, 2018, I I had the most work I had ever had in my entire life. And I've worked full-time retail jobs, I've worked in newspapers, I've done all that. But this was the most difficult because not only was I in the classroom on my feet for 7 hours of the day, I was also planning, I was grading, I was preparing PowerPoint slides or Kahoot games or quizzes, things like that. I was doing all of these things when I wasn't in the classroom. I was literally taking my homework or taking my work home with me, which that shouldn't be the case, right? I mean, there are simply not enough hours in the day for a teacher with more than one prep, so that is to say, more than one class that is being taught. It takes an increasing amount of time. So, say you teach 3 different classes; they're all English classes. You teach freshman English, sophomore English, and senior English. Maybe honors or something. Those are 3 different classes that you have to prepare for. If you're teaching one class of, say, freshman English, well, now you have to prepare something every day of the week, following specific guidelines. You can't deviate from those guidelines too far. And you have to also think about what's going to be best for your individual students. You have to know your students on top of that. You got to consider where they're at in their learning, which is where prior knowledge assessments come in. And so it is a breathtaking amount of work to properly educate children. And personally, that's where I think the honor comes from, because it's kind of a thankless job. But it's necessary. It is something that, like I said, governments have undersold, and yeah, we can do better. But by and large, for this school year, the pandemic response has been not perfect by any means, but it's been appreciable. Something that I understand, and I can see the reasoning behind it. I know when the pandemic first came around, March, April, schools didn't know what they were doing. We tried to jump into distance learning, which eliminated the need for me as a substitute, because who needs a substitute if everyone's at home teaching online? They didn't give me training for that kind of thing. So I just didn't work through the second half of last school year, which is tough financially. It's tough, mentally, because I got nothing to do. I mean, yeah, I can sit around and play video games all day, but what am I actually accomplishing? And it's difficult. But having had that time and the summer break to really think things over and come up with some kind of plan definitely helped. It could be worse, but it certainly could be a lot better. So that's my response to what's bothering me today, the teacher edition. And I hope Felix watches this. I hope maybe some of the other subscribers watch this. There you go.